My name is Greg McDaniel, and welcome back to another amazing show of Real Estate Coach Uncensored.
And I'm Bernice Ross, and we have a really fun show for you today. It's called Crazy Critter Encounters in Real Estate. And every one of these stories is going to be something that either happened to us or a client experienced. But, domestic animals pose their own problems when it comes to showing property. I mean, I remember walking into my mother-in-law's rental condo and there weren't supposed to be any pets, and there's a great big Rottweiler at the top of the stairs. Now I had a Rottweiler, so I stared the dog down, but I didn't want to go, confront it. Not a good idea. No. So what happens though when you bump into a wild animal on a showing? When your clients discover one, if it happens on like an inspection, there's a rattlesnake curled up on the, you walk out the pool and they're on the end of the diving board, there's a snake curled up. I've seen that one happen. So how do you handle situations? Now, I mentioned snakes because that's the lead off here. I have a snake phobia, Greg, that is the size of Texas. So I'm showing this property. It's up in Bel Air, and we're walking up the street because there were two different houses on the market. And we're going to, walking up the second one, and this big old rattlesnake goes crawling across the road, and God. I'm with my clients, and I see that thing, and I go, I throw my purse in the air, and my clients are laughing so hard. It is the funniest thing they've ever seen because I think my purse went flying.
Well, you've always said you run around in 3-inch heels, so you're like,
yeah, I know. I had 3-inch heels, but it was
click-clacking away as fast as you can, like, oh my God.
And, I actually did scream, that's when I was still in my 20s, but still, I'm a little bit more controlled now. But then I was on another showing, and it was just down the street from my house in Beverly Hills, and there were rattlesnakes all over everywhere. The gardeners were always killing them. And my last house I lived in before this one, I actually watched a rattlesnake crawl down the below my house, down up the front walkway to where my next door neighbors lived. And that was pretty freaky. But so I'm on this showing with these clients, and there's another family that's coming out of this house, and it was below grade. So you step down, had a beautiful view of the San Fernando Valley, 180-degree view of multi-million-dollar house. And the they're walking on. The little boy looks over and goes, "Hey, Mom, look, cool, there's a rattlesnake." It was curled up right by the front door.
What?
And needless to say, my clients felt like I did. I said, I'm going to, turn around, let's get out of here. I'm not walking down to show that house with a rattlesnake there.
No, ma'am.
No. So here's the bottom line. If you have snakes in your area, first of all, you need to know which ones are venomous. We have coral snakes here where I live in Texas, and I can't remember.
Red to yellow, kill a fellow.
Yellow on black, friend to Jack. That's a harmless snake. And red on yellow, kill a fella. That's a coral snake. But I've had people find, coral snakes in their garage, even one in somebody's dryer, which I don't know how in heaven's name they got into that. But you need to know who can remove them. And sometimes it's animal control. Here in Texas, it's really common for a lot of people to say, "Oh, you got a snake, I'll take care of it." They're just like, they have no problem. But it can be animal control. The fire department sometimes, some of the animal there's some other groups that will take care of it for you. But absolutely don't try to fool with it yourself if you don't know how to deal with it.
Right. And there's a lot of snakes up here in Northern California that they look venomous, but they're not venomous. And one of the snakes, and it's escaping my brain at the last moment here, but they actually hunt and kill rattlesnakes.
Those are
Gopher snakes, and they curl up and they imitate a rattler because they'll wiggle their tail and you won't know the difference because they're trying to get away, but they can't really hurt you. So yeah, like you said, call animal control, call 911, call whoever you need to do, but stay safe 100%, because is it really worth showing the house if someone's going to get hurt? I think not.
No, you don't want to deal with these things. So, okay. Now the next one, Drats, we've got rats. Okay. You live in the hills. I think you live in downtown Manhattan, you can end up with rats. So anyway, I have two different stories on this. This is when I was still living in Bel Air. I was up in the hills. You know, I got an inexpensive house before the prices there went real crazy when I was in my 20s. But anyway, so I'm showing a couple of properties that are a couple doors up the street from mine. So my client stopped at my house and then we go up to look at the property, and then standing right in the walkway directly across from my house, there's a rat that is this tall. He's on his hind legs like this, just kind of looking at us.
Like Ratatouille from Disney.
Yeah, just Ratatouille. Exactly. Well, needless to say, you know, they were interested in writing offer until they saw the rats. Now, we still have rat, you know, we've got rat problems here in the subdivision where I live. People have had problems with them getting into their houses. But when I was commuting back and forth from Austin to LA, while I was still teaching out there, I moved here and continued to teach out there for 8 years. So I was commuting back and forth every week, and I was staying at one of my mother-in-law's friends. And she had a beautiful townhome in Westland, gorgeous, you know, Thousand Oaks. It's absolutely just drop dead gorgeous. But after been staying there for a couple, 3 months, at night, I started hearing in the walls, you know, and it's the rats running amok, you know, they're like, you know, and they're on a different sleeping schedule than I am. They're quiet during the day and they are really having a good time at night. I tried, you know, we talked about getting a professional exterminator. And I happened to be researching something for one of my Psych 1 classes and came across a study that said it was a study on what kind of music that rats like. Apparently they like Mozart, but they don't like rap. So what I did, you know, this guy I was staying with, she was in her 70s. She had this big boom box. I don't know, many of you don't know what this is, but this is a pretty cool radio. You could take your music down to the beach with you. And so I find LA's, you know, leading rap station. I cranked that thing way up, put it right, and this was right next to my bed where I was staying. I put that thing in the bed right next to that wall and played it, you know, let it go all day while I was out teaching. No more rat problem.
So they don't
anyway,
like
long story
NWA.
short here, probably an exterminator is a better choice, but I've told other people about the rap music thing. Hey, it can't hurt. And if it helps, it didn't cost you anything.
You know, that's actually hilarious.
Now, Greg, you had a problem with gophers, and I've had a lot, you know, I've seen gophers on my parents' properties. I mean, I've seen them, gophers everywhere. So what worked and what didn't work with the gophers?
Oh my goodness gracious, where do I start with this comment? So I have a client that I helped her sell their home and then helped them buy another property. Their home that they sold, they had a gopher that was just devouring their backyard, eating all the flowers as we put them in to get the showings going. I mean, it ate, I don't know what this thing was on, but it ate everything under the sun. And they tried all kinds of stuff and they just said, forget it, we're going to put rocks down. They sold the home, they moved out, and they said bon voyage. And you know, they left and the gopher stayed there, but I think the gopher actually tracked them down and moved into their new backyard, because they called me up because there was fresh sod in the backyard. We got a gopher problem. I'm like, again? I said, okay, let me research this. So we tried drowning the gopher, which, by the way, that does not work.
I've tried that one, that didn't work.
Yeah, no, because I mean, the gopher actually had an exterminator that I talked to. He said that if you put enough water down there, it actually increases the gopher's speed. He can go 16 feet an hour cruising through your yard if you try to drown them. So that was a no. We tried what they call gopher gassers. We tried smoke bombs. We tried traps. When I say we, it's a royal we when I say we. And we tried, this is the most ridiculous one. We tried juicy fruit gum to drop quarter chunks down into the holes. So this is from a farmer in the Midwest. So I figured the guy knew what he was doing. He has a farm. They tried that. That didn't work. We tried the sonic pulses, which kind of got rid of everything. But the big thing that really worked with the gophers is this. The clients, they actually ripped up their entire backyard. And they brought me over to see this because I had to see what they were doing because I was so curious. They laid gopher wire down, tacked it down incredibly hard, and then did like this felt strip stuff that has grass seed in it. And then they laid bird netting over the top of it, so the raccoons and the gophers, so that no predators could get to their precious grass. And My gosh, it's been like a 6 month or 8 month journey with these individuals, and I laugh my rear end off. I'm like, thank goodness I live in a condo. I mean, the worst thing I have is like are geese, and that's it.
Well, I've got another story. This happened at my brother-in-law's house up in Colorado, and they're at 7,200 feet. So they're up in the Colorado mountain, in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And anyway, they live, the property they're on, they come down from the street, there's a dip, and then there's a big mountain in back of them. And so they're on a flag lot. There's 3 houses at the end. Well, the neighbors on one side put their house on the market. And there was an agent who was driving her clients down the driveway. So they've got this long driveway. So the agent starts down the drive, gets about halfway down, and a mountain lion leaps over the hood of her car.
What?
Yeah, a mountain lion from one side of the driveway right over the car.
I hope they don't have any small pets.
Yeah, needless to say, the buyers decided to look somewhere else. Now, we have seen bears on that property a number of times. I mean, I remember seeing them at Thanksgiving. It was really wonderful. We're standing up on the second floor balcony looking down at them, and it was great.
No.
The bears weren't, it was fine. It was fine. They weren't getting us up there. But it's, you just have to be aware. And of course, the deer up there are a problem. My brother-in-law's hit deer 2 different times, just one time on his motorcycle, actually, which was not a good thing.
No.
But, people love mountain living. Hey, it's, mountain lions, bears, bobcats. You need to have a contingency plan if you have to deal with these kinds of animals. And again, is it animal control? Is it fire department, police, sheriffs? Depending what it is. If you live in an area that's got bears, they do have bear spray, but the best thing you can do if you're out showing, like you're in a backyard or something where there could be a problem, is to make a lot of noise. Make sure you're talking loud. Most animals will try to get away from you. They prefer not to confront you.
Yeah.
Now, I have another story. I had a $4 million listing. This was in Brentwood Park a number of years ago. It was a 1920 Spanish Mission style house. And it was just absolutely gorgeous. And, so acre flat in Brentwood Park, which is like unheard of. The house was built in the 1920s, and they had a beautiful tennis court, they had guest house, they had a beautiful pool area, but then they had this big koi pond. And not too long after I took the listing, the koi started disappearing. And they were very expensive fish. I mean, they were big suckers. They were really, expensive.
The big boys. Yeah.
The big boys, yes, the ones that cost a lot of money. And my clients would say, "Okay, somebody's stealing our fish." I had, and at that price range, you go with the clients at every single showing,
Mm-hmm.
And but anyway, my client told me after, it's been going on for about a month, when the gardeners saw what the problem was, there was a big blue heron that was hunting for the fish.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. So the heron was having sushi dinner.
What an SOB.
Sushi dinner.
Oh my gosh. That bird found like the best sushi restaurant in town. Poor fishos just swimming around, eating their stuff, and just boom.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So bottom line here, if you have something odd going on, one of the best things you can do is set up a camera to see if you can catch the culprit. And that's easy to do with all the things that are out there right now. And then the other thing, what we know is nocturnal animals don't like lights. So have really bright lights, set up motion detectors, and, those come on when something's moving out there. And that can be a deterrent. Now, Greg, you've got another good one. You got a raccoon story for us. And this is something that's just happened here in the last few weeks, right?
They are my nemesis. Those little, mask wearing little, pod fools. So again, another client of mine, they I guess they think I'm animal control because they call me when anything goes wrong after I sell my house. They're like, ring, ring.
Maybe they figured that you deal with it.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, you're 6'5", 240 pounds. Can you handle the raccoons?" I'm like, "No, they're little bandits. They come out at night. I can't do anything with them." They call them up. They're like, "Ring, ring." I'm like, "Yeah, hello." Like, "Oh, hey, it's us." I'm like, "Hey, guys." They're like, "We got a raccoon that's eating up our backyard. What can we do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not animal control. Let me come over and take a look." So I went over and took a look. And they had done so much work. I mean, they had tried everything because their new sod was getting peeled up every single night. And so they tried covering boards on it. They tried to put rocks on it. They tried to do, you name it, right? And the one thing that worked the most, they had a friend of theirs that had a German Shepherd. And the German Shepherd came over and because they want to see the house and yada, yada. And the German Shepherd, of course, their dogs. So go outside, go do your business, walk around, sniff things, do whatever you do. Well, as soon as the smell of that big dog got in the backyard, bye-bye raccoon problem. And they had gone to the lengths of building up about a 4-inch barrier around their grass and then spreading this bird netting over it and tacking it down really tightly. And so that the raccoons, it would be harder for them to get in there. And it worked pretty well, but when the dog smell got in the backyard, guys, it was like literally day and night for them. All of a sudden, raccoons gone, squirrels gone, anything smaller than a dog was gone. So if you guys got a raccoon issues with clients or your own backyard, go rent a dog. Go on next door, and just say, hey, I have a, I'll dog sit your dog for a day if you want to go on a weekend trip. No problem. Here's my yard. Here's the food. Yada yada. 2 for 1. They get to go on vacation. You get rid of your critters.
I love that story, Greg. Now, the last one here, unfortunately, this was when I was in my 20s. I had this black cat who,
Oh no.
yeah, and he liked to hunt.
No.
And he had 6 toes and he was just so cute. But anyway, he would bring me back little prizes all the time because when I was living in my townhome, we had a big vacant lot across the street.
Right.
So he was out there hunting all the time. He'd come back and bring stuff to me. And so I ended up moving into Brentwood into a house up there. It's top of one of the streets there in Brentwood, had a 360 view from Santa Monica to LA. It was fantastic.
Wow.
But and the house was like a year old. It was just beautiful property, but the views and everything was fantastic. And I never thought anything about letting my cat out because he'd always been an indoor outdoor cat. He came around when he wanted to and hung out. But I didn't realize, I knew there were kind of coyotes, but I didn't realize that they were a threat there. And he was out one night and I hear this yip, 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 yip. And then the silence. I never saw my cat again.
Oh,
when I moved a number of years later into my house in Beverly Hills, and I was there for 11 years and was up off of Mulholland, and I could hear the coyotes hunting at night, and you hear the yip, 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 and then this eerie silence when they catch the prey.
See,
it is kind of anyway. So after that night, I never saw my cat again. So yeah. If there are, and it breaks my heart every time I see a picture of a little dog. I mean, where I live now, there's, we've got wildlife because there's green belts or golf courses all around here. But when I see somebody's little dog is missing, their cat, and then I see I hear the owls and I see the big hawks that fly over the subdivision here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, the bottom line is here, if you've got a small animal and you live in an area where there are any kind of wildlife or birds of prey or, bobcats, coyotes, you don't, if you got a cat, keep them indoors. They'll live longer. It's safer for them. It's better for them. And if you've got a small dog, don't let it out without it being on a leash. Otherwise, it may become dinner for one of these animals.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the disclosures. Greg, how have you've sold properties, you're selling land, they've got snakes, they've got coyotes, you're in California. What kind of disclosures have you been making to your clients about the local wildlife?
So one of the things that we always talk to people about is be aware of your surroundings. And when it comes to the disclosures, I was actually on a run with my girlfriend the other day in San Francisco in a park called Glen Canyon Park. And a coyote came right at her. Like she was jogging and I yelled at her. I'm like, Jax. And she thought it was a dog. And I'm like, this is no dog. This thing was coming right at her and then diverted away from her because all of a sudden it was too big for her. So you have to be really aware of that. Be aware of your surroundings when you're out and about, no matter where you are, because they will go after small kids, small animals, small everything. So what we do is we make everybody aware in our disclosures. Guys, there are non-domestic animals here on the premises, and that can be worms, it can be a gopher, it can be a squirrel, it can be, you fill in the blank. California actually does a lot of that for us now. They fill in the blank saying that there are non-domestic animals on your property. Even a spider is a non-domestic animal. Okay. So it is a good thing to have in case you have arachnophobia. It's okay. We got you covered. But
Well,
always
great.
tell your friends.
I haven't heard it put that way. I've always disclosed that there's snakes, coyotes, and other wildlife in the area. And,
Mhm,
there's a risk to your small animals or,
mhm.
even too big because the coyotes do hunt in packs. So anyway, I do want to say one thing. If you find an abandoned fawn, for example, or an animal that's been injured, there are animal rehab groups almost everywhere in the country that you can have contact them, and and they've got this show on TV. I guess it's Alaska Wildlife Animal. If you're interested in seeing the kind of work these people do, it's interesting stuff. But again, their goal is to save these animals and release them back into the wild if possible. So, Greg, what's your final takeaway from today?
Keep your eyes and ears open at all times. Make sure your what's around you in your presence. If there's a threat, obviously get out immediately. Make sure that you and your client's safety is the biggest priority out there.
And Greg, the other thing I want to add to that, make sure that if you live in an area where there are snakes or other, serious predators, make sure that you've got animal control or whoever you're supposed to contact in your phone on speed dial.
Yes, good idea.
Thanks for being with us today. See you next time.